Hey friends, thanks for joining me here at Look Up Devotions and Encouragement. Today I'm going to talk about my kids. I have two unbelievable children. They are kind, they are loving, they are respectful, they are fun to be around, they're smart. I am their mom, so I'm going to brag on them, but I can't brag too much. It was nothing that I or Patrick did. Our kids are just fun, good kids. Well, so we treated them a few nights ago, or maybe a week ago. I think it was a week ago. Coming in town was the Harlem Wizards, so kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters, but the Harlem Wizards. And they came through, and as a fundraiser for our school and another school, there were two schools that provided teachers who were playing against the Harlem Wizards. But a good portion of the evening was a comedic routine. So it was packed out, sold out. The tickets weren't too expensive. It was a fun evening. We ate dinner before then, so we didn't need to eat concessions. We were being very smart and had a blast. Absolutely had a blast. Well, they periodically through the show will throw out prizes. And so the kids are jumping up trying to get prizes. They would try to volunteer for some of the goofy little tricks and things they were doing when they'd ask for volunteers. So we're laughing and having a good time. And we're on the back row of these wooden bleachers, which, y'all, my derriere is not made for wooden bleachers anymore. But so it was a good hour and a half program. We were there almost 2 hours. So about halfway through, one of the guys throws out prizes. And Piper and Andy are both standing up to catch them. And Piper catches this little, squishy little basketball, almost like leather. Almost reminds me of like a hacky sack, but just a little bit bigger. Anyway, it's got Harlem Wizards logo on it. She's super pumped. And so we're like, yay, go Piper. We're so excited. So he continues to move on and throw out prizes, and everybody's happy. He goes to the other side of the gymnasium and throws out prizes, and kids are all excited, and they're swarming and trying to get them. Like you'd see at a baseball game when they try to catch the ball, whatever. So it's about 2 minutes in, and I look to my right. Now I'm sitting, Piper's on my left, I'm sitting, Andy's to my right, and then Patrick's on the other side of Andy. So I look to my right, because I don't hear Andy, and I look over, and Andy is trying the hardest to hold in tears. Just, where your face all contorts and your lip is quivering and your chin is just, he's trying so hard not to cry. Now, the mom in me instantly wants to cry with my babies. It's like, we've always told them that we have this invisible string that is tied from me to their hearts. Because I gave a part of my body for them to grow, that there was this invisible string, and that my body can feel when they are hurting and when they are in pain. I can feel that. We've always talked about that in our family. I can share stories about that at another time. But I look at him, and my first reaction is to be tearful and to cry. But then I look up and I see Patrick's eyes, and I see him, and he said, he's gonna be okay. And Andy's not watching us. He's still looking at all the action on the court, but he's got this, he wants to cry so bad. So I'm having a conversation. You know how parents do that, where you have this conversation across the room and you don't actually talk, but you're saying a whole bunch with your eyes. So Patrick and I are having this conversation, and I said, how much was the ball over at the souvenir table? And he goes, it was like $5 or $6. And I said, do we need to buy him one? And Patrick said, no. He needs to understand it's not always fair. Y'all, my heart broke, because I went, oh, that's right. That's true. Okay. And I get teary because I don't want my kids, I don't want them to hurt. I don't want them to feel anger and jealousy. I don't want them to hurt when I can fix it. When I could easily throw $5 at it and get him a ball. It's a ball. It's a stupid ball that he'll forget about later, but I could throw a ball at him. I am so thankful that God brought Patrick in my life and that he paired us together, because our entire marriage, we go back and forth like this, where one of us has to support the other or speak truth to the other. That's how a marriage and how a relationship should be. So Patrick's mouthed words of no, he needs to understand life is not always fair, is very truthful. I needed to hear it because a good parent allows their child to experience disappointment and sadness because it's how they become noble, respectful, loving human beings when they understand the width of their emotions and that God is with them through all of those emotions. Now, it was a stupid basketball. Sorry, my hand got caught on my earring. It was a stupid little basketball. It would have cost $5. It was nothing. We didn't purposefully buy it and just give it to Piper and not give it to Andy. We are not those kind of parents. In fact, I find myself trying really hard to do equally for both kids because that's how my brain goes. I want them both to know how much I love them. But love also means discipline, and love also means helping them to navigate the hard parts of life. And it gets me right here. It is hard to do that. God disciplines us, and it hurts. But he disciplines us because he loves us. I don't want Andy to ever experience pain and hurt. I don't want life to be unfair to him. I want him to have a fair life. I want him to have all the resources that he wants. I want him to have the world in front of him and him get to choose prayerfully how to navigate life. But as the mom, it is my privilege to help him navigate when life is unfair. You will experience moments where life is unfair if you haven't already. And if you haven't already, props to you. There are times where the unfairness hits us out of left field. It rocks us and drops us to our knees. But God is there. Have told you multiple times, I'm reading this book called Chasing Vines by Beth Moore, and it talks about God being the gardener. And the imagery of God being a gardener and pruning a plant makes so much sense in my head. I'm not a gardener. I have black thumbs. I've joked that when plants come into my house, I think they commit suicide when they come in here because like, no, we're not going to live with her. That beautiful sunflower is totally silk. Not real. That's the ones I can keep alive because they're not alive. But the idea, even for someone who doesn't garden, understands that there are pieces in the ground and dirt that comes through the air that could choke the life out of growth of a plant. And so the imagery that God prunes the vine that is connected to him, his child, the one he loves, in order for it to have its best chance of success. That image makes sense to me. The example I give in Andy survived. We sat there and talked about it for a few minutes, and we talked about how, Andy, you don't want to miss the rest of the evening because you are sad. We understand you can have moments where you feel what you're feeling and you can feel sad and envious, but that will ruin the rest of your evening when we have had so much fun. And he, because we talked through it, was able to put that down. And not much longer after the conversation did he move on in his laughter and in his excitement. He danced, he boogied, he had a good time the rest of the evening and talked fondly about the night. I was wrong in my desire, even though my desire was to love on him and to care for him. I was wrong in thinking that I just need to step in and handle it and take away the unfairness of the situation. It's in those unfair situations that Andy is going to be able to experience Christ. The God I know, the God that has walked with me through fairness and unfairness. That God that I love, I want Andy to know that God. And the only way for him to know that God is to experience it. Whatever you are doing today and whatever fair or unfairness is happening in your world, trust that the gardener sees you. Trust that God loves you and that God doesn't want you to be experiencing pain or hurt or unfairness. But sometimes God will allow it because he wants you closer to him. He wants you to become the person he intended you to be. Heads up, shoulders back. You are loved by God. He's going to do the hard work it's going to take to make you who he intended you to be. Fair or unfair, God is with you. Wherever you are today and whatever you are doing, I hope that you are experiencing the joy and laughter and love that comes when you look up.